All right, so let's jump right in. Today we're talking about Odysseus, a container orchestration platform that's making a really bold promise. All the power you need, but without all the pain. If you're in the world of containers, you know just how complex it can get. We're going to see if this is a genuinely smarter way forward.
So let me start by asking you a question. And if you manage any kind of modern infrastructure, this is probably going to hit home. Are you paying the Kubernetes tax? And no, I'm not talking about a line item on an invoice. I'm talking about the hidden costs, the complexity, the time, the sheer brainpower it takes just to keep the whole thing running.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. The numbers are pretty stark. A whopping 88% of organizations say the real total cost of running Kubernetes is actually going up. So yeah, this pain is very real and it is very, very widespread.
What this creates is this really painful no man's land, right? On one side, you've got something like Docker Compose. It's simple, everyone knows it, but you're not really going to run your production apps on it. On the other side, you've got Kubernetes. It's powerful, it's scalable, but let's be honest, managing it is a full-time job. You're stuck. And that's the exact gap that Odysseus is built to fill.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll dig into that gap a little more, then I'll introduce you to Odysseus and its smarter paths. We'll pop the hood and see the architecture, check out its pretty unique AI features, stack it up against the competition, and then finally, help you figure out if it's the right move for your team.
Okay, let's really get into this problem because it's more than just a minor annoyance. This stuff has a real, measurable impact on your team's ability to ship code and, your bottom line. And when you actually quantify this tax, it is wild. We're talking about engineers burning 15 plus hours a week. That's almost half their time, just wrestling with the platform. Then you've got the fact that an estimated 87% of the CPU you're paying for is just sitting there wasted. And, of course, the surprise bills that show up. Yeah. This is the exact pain Odysseus wants to make go away.
So let's talk about the alternative. Odysseus is built specifically for those teams that are caught in the middle. The goal here isn't to be Kubernetes light. It's to be a totally different, fundamentally smarter way to operate, especially when you're not at a massive Google-like scale.
And the name says it all, really. It's named after Odysseus, the Greek hero who was famous for not using brute force, but for finding the cleverest, most efficient way out of impossible jams. That is the entire philosophy here.
So what is it actually? Well, for starters, it's a single tiny Go binary that uses less than 150 megs of RAM. Super efficient. And get this, it uses the same Docker Compose files your team already knows and loves. But with that, you get all the serious stuff, self-healing, clustering, multi-tenancy. It's really aimed at that sweet spot of, say, 50 to 100 containers. And it comes with features like security scanning and AI ops baked right in.
Okay, so that's the promise. But how does it actually deliver? How do you get all that power without the mind-numbing complexity? Well, the magic, as they say, is in the architecture. In this diagram just lays it all out beautifully. You can see these really clean layers, right? You've got your clients up top, the web UI, the command line. They talk to the control plane, which uses state stores like console and vault. Then there's a secure network overlay. And at the bottom, the worker nodes where your containers actually live. It's got everything you need, but it's all so much more streamlined. Now, the beating heart of this whole thing is what's called a reconciliation loop. It's super simple, but incredibly powerful. Every 5 seconds, Odysseus asks 2 questions. What did you tell me to run? And what is actually running? If there's any difference, a container crashed, a setting is wrong, it fixes it, automatically, on the spot. This constant, relentless loop is what makes the platform so resilient. And then there's storage, which is always a headache, right? Well, instead of making you bolt on some complex external system, Odysseus has this clever 3-tier storage system built right in. It automatically shuffles your data between super fast local disks for performance, replicated storage for high availability, and cheap object storage for backups. It's all based on how often you access the data. Smart.
All right, now for the part that I think is really, really cool. This is how Odysseus uses AI not as a gimmick, but as a core part of your day-to-day operations. So it comes with this built-in AI assistant called Athena. And just imagine this. A new security vulnerability drops. Instead of scrambling through logs and dashboards, you just ask a question in plain English, just like this. Athena, what's affected? And you get an answer. Instantly. This just completely changes the game for troubleshooting. And I want you to see from this diagram that the AI isn't just some chatbot they tacked onto the UI. The Athena service and this SRE engine, they're first-class citizens in the architecture. They are plugged directly into the API server and the core control loops.
It's deeply, deeply integrated. And it goes even further than just answering questions. There's also an autonomous SRE engine that's constantly watching. It looks for common problems, containers crash looping, high error rates, you name it. And when it sees something, it can automatically run a fix that you've defined. It basically turns your team's tribal knowledge into an automated first responder that works 24/7. So how does all this stack up when you look at the other options out there? Let's get down to the brass tacks and look at the numbers, because this is where the value prop just becomes crystal clear. Take a look at this. This is a direct cost comparison for a pretty standard 10-node cluster. You can see Odysseus Pro is right there in price with a tool like Pertainer, but it's a tiny fraction of the cost of Nomad or Rancher. But here's the kicker. Look at that last column. It is the only one that has those AI operations features included right out of the box. And this brings up a really crucial point. A lot of those other tools are just a user interface, a nice dashboard you put on top of Kubernetes or Docker Swarm. Odysseus is fundamentally different. It is the orchestrator. It replaces that complex underlying engine and the management layer all in one shot.
Okay, so let's put it all together. Who is this actually for? If you're a technical leader trying to make a decision, what's the big takeaway here?
The ideal customer for Odysseus has a pretty clear profile. See if this sounds like your team. You're running a good number of services, say 50 to 100. Your ops team is small, maybe just 1 to 3 engineers. But you still need the serious stuff: high availability, security, audit trails. And usually the moment you start looking for a tool like this is right after a really painful outage or a scary security audit. And this quote just hammers it home. This is the whole return on investment calculation in a nutshell. When you put the monthly cost of the software, $179, up against the 6-figure salary for dedicated Kubernetes expert, well, the math kind of does itself, doesn't it? The goal is to give you that same level of reliability and automation without needing to hire an army. And so that brings us to the final question, the one you should probably take back to your team. The question isn't just about the price tag on a new tool. It's about the ongoing price you're already paying for complexity, in lost productivity, in engineer burnout, in the fragility of your systems. What's the real cost of not making things simpler?